From Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, I'm David Gavri, and this is the Vegas Faces podcast, where we talk with Las Vegas locals about what it's really like to live in the City of Lights. Whether you're living in Vegas, moving to Vegas, or just visiting Vegas and looking for new adventures, together let's discover the hidden gems that make Sin City the most visited place on earth. Hey everybody, welcome to Vegas Faces Fast Facts, where we cover specific topics from right here in Las Vegas. I'm David Gavri. I'm a Las Vegas realtor with Realty One Group Summerlin. Shout out to our producer Paul behind the scenes, making us all look good. Today's topic is, why would anyone want to move to Las Vegas? Our good friends Michelle and Joey are here. They moved here from Chicago to Vegas. They've been here less than a year. We're here to talk about why they decided to move their family out of the Windy City and into Sin City. Michelle and Joey, welcome to Vegas Faces. Let's get right into it.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Friends, family, like when you guys were like, hey, we're moving to Vegas. What was that like?
Oh my God. Everyone was like, why are you moving to Vegas? Why would you move your family to Vegas? Like they think we live on the strip. We're going to raise our kids in strip clubs. Like that's immediately what people think. And we had to explain to them that there's life outside the strip, that there's normal suburbs. So that was always, even still to this day, people ask, why Vegas and why would you live there? So you get the same, people don't realize that there's regular, normal family suburban settings outside of the strip.
The funny thing too is like we didn't even visit Vegas before we moved here. We just kind of took the risk.
Just watched every YouTube video out there. Talked to, your wife, Mary, who convinced me, my bestie. So we're just doing a lot of research, and we're just kind of tired of the weather, the cloudiness, the raining, the taxes.
The list goes on.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole episode about why, the cons, but, to each their own. But for us, it was just time to change.
Yeah, we've been wanting like warmer weather too for like a very long time. And here we are, 117 degrees in the summer. So.
But while we're on the topic of weather, Chicago winter or Vegas summer, which is worse?
Oh, Chicago winter.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, here at nighttime, at least it cools down and you can sit on your patio and it's comfortable and you get a nice cool breeze. Dry heat, I dare anybody to argue with me that dry heat is better than humidity or the 20 below zero or 10 below zero. So I'll take Vegas summers any day.
Do you think that like coming from Chicago, like you guys don't get cold anymore? Like it's funny to me when Vegas locals are like, oh man, it's freezing, but it's like 50 or 55 or even like in the 60s. And they're like, oh, it's so cold with their heavy jackets and their Ugg boots.
We swore that right away we would give it at least a year before we became those people that were like, oh, it's so cold. But now we find ourselves that we are kind of those people that are like freezing in 50-degree weather. So that's a little interesting. I didn't think I would be that person right away.
Well, that's the thing too. Like the heat out here, like it gets so hot in the summertime that like any bit of cold actually feels colder.
Yeah, for sure.
And also like lack of humidity, I think makes it feel a little bit extra cold too. So I'll give it that. But
I still think it's funny when people say, oh, it's 50 and they're bundled up. The most I wore last winter was like a Columbia fleece, like just a fleece sweatshirt. I never put on a winter jacket.
Okay, so you guys mentioned that you moved here. You had never been to Vegas ever?
No, never had been. We were just like ready to like leave the weather and leave, all the things that we didn't like about where we were currently living. And then we just started researching and watching YouTube videos, talking to yourself and your wife about the pros of living there. And he had to come out here for work anyways. We're like, oh, let's just take a trip. We were out here. We found a house. We signed on the dotted line. Then we flew back to Chicago and started packing. And we were here like 2 or 3 months later. Today's been a year.
Wow. Congrats, you guys. Wow. Yeah. In a year's time, what is something that you've noticed about living in Las Vegas? Like your perspective on being a Las Vegas local in your first year. What's that like for you?
That I feel like it genuinely makes you happier to be in the sun in the nicer temperatures. But I feel like when you're happier, time kind of just flies by. You're not like miserable and sleeping all the time and time is dragging because it's rainy, cloudy, and gloomy. So I think that kind of is why time a little bit flies by, and you're kind of you're enjoying yourself more, in my opinion.
Yeah, you definitely don't take like the 300 days of sun for granted. Whereas like people I know that have lived here a long time, or maybe they're from Vegas, they're just like, yeah, it's always sunny, it's sunny again. And I'm like, yeah, but if you lived in a place where it was cloudy for like 4 months straight, you didn't even get any fresh air because it was too cold to go outside. Like, I appreciate the sun like nothing ever before whenever I moved out here versus, just kind of like, oh, another sky with no clouds.
100%.
Yeah, take the sun every day.
All right. So another thing about you guys have 2 kids. So a lot of people say, oh, like, Vegas is not a city for kids. Like, how can you raise a family in Vegas? So what is your perspective on the family friendly activities here in Vegas and what it's like actually being here as as family people, as opposed to just single people living in Vegas?
Well, I definitely think our boys are 17 and 8, and we've done more with our kids living here in the past year than we did probably 4 years in Illinois. Because I feel like in Illinois, to do something really fun, you have to go really far, or you have to go to like Chicago, which is a whole trek to get down there. And it's a whole all day thing. And it's, so much money for parking and things like that. And here, everything is so close that everything you can get to is in 10 or 20 minutes. So parking's easy, driving's easier. It's nice all the time. So you can really get outside. You can go hiking, you can go sightseeing. There's aquariums and there's like beaches and resort pools and wave pools and water parks, farmers markets. There's always some kind of festival going on in a park, whether it's like a taco and tamale festival or an Italian festival. They have rides for the kids, face painting. So I really feel like no matter what day of the week it is, whether it's school year or summertime, there's always an activity to do for the kids. If you just hop on a Facebook page or a Las Vegas locals page, and you're always going to have something to do.
Yeah, it always feels like there's just every day is a Saturday in Las Vegas. Like there's always an event. It is the entertainment capital, and there really is always something for all genres. Like it's not even just the party scene. It's like literally no matter what niche you're part of, there's something for you here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree, babe?
Yeah, for sure. There's always something going on, like every day of the week.
So other than like family stuff, like have you guys had friends and family come out and visit and kind of like have that like their perspective on like, oh, okay, I see how you live now? Because like you were saying, people think you just live in the casino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we actually have 2 of our best friends moving out here at the end of the month. They come out every month and a half to visit us. And I think since we've lived here, at least every 1 to 2 months, we have some kind of family and friends visiting, which is great. It's exhausting. They're excited. They get excited for us because they're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. You can do this and you can do this. And then low key, you're kind of like, yeah, I live here. Don't be jealous.
Yeah, it is kind of like this hidden gem because, like, again, like people just have this stigma about Vegas, and so the people who actually like take a gamble and come here to live here, I feel like it really works out great, especially for you guys. I mean, if you're going to take a gamble and never like never have ever seen this place before and just be like, we're going to live here, I guess this is the place to do that. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a fun it's one of those things where like people really won't understand until they just come here.
Absolutely. And I feel like people don't understand what you say when you mean like it's a small city, like within a big city. I feel like you don't really understand that until you get here and live here and understand that everything is so close to get to. But we love it here and we have no plans on leaving. Like we really couldn't imagine where else we'd want to live.
Yeah, because you guys came from the Chicago suburbs where like everything, and same for me. Like I lived in a suburb outside of Houston, and when I lived in Chicago, I lived in the city, so I guess maybe a little bit different. But even still, living in the city of Chicago, things still closed. And out here, we kind of get spoiled. Like everything seems to be 24-hour. Like it just seems to be nonstop, and you kind of get a little bit spoiled. Like when you go elsewhere, and you're like, oh, this closes, huh? That's weird. Nothing closes here.
No, absolutely, you're right.
More on the strip, you see like everything open 24 hours, but try to like go to a restaurant like where we live, there's not really anything open past like I think 12 o'clock.
But drive-throughs are open. A lot of drive-throughs are open
Yeah.
24/7.
What about like Chicago traffic, Vegas traffic? Because again, a lot of locals say like, "Oh, the traffic's getting bad out here." But like, what are your thoughts on traffic out here versus traffic in the city of Chicago and outside of Chicago?
Usually traffic only lasts like 10, 15 minutes, and it's only like in a certain section, on the expressway. But I would say like I used to work construction, so the traffic not as bad as it is in Chicago.
And here, when people say traffic, I think it's because it's more than what they've seen in the past. But here, like in the traffic, at least it's moving and flowing, and you're not really at a standstill. Whereas in Illinois, all the major expressways, you could be in the same spot for an hour and move not even a mile. So here, even though there's quote unquote traffic, is it really?
Yeah, I think Joey hit on the head. Like, yes, we do get traffic, but like within 10, 20 minutes, it's done. Whereas in Chicago, it's like you're sitting there for an hour plus.
Absolutely.
But what about like, what are some things you guys like to do, like spare time, like whether it's outdoor activities or just any activities in general? You were talking about the farmers markets and festivals and things like that. What are some things that have stuck out for you in the year that you've lived here?
Fremont Street's really cool. We enjoy doing that, walking around. You were here. Well, we had that Lovers and Friends concert that got canceled a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So we ended up just we went to a couple clubs, did a lot of walking on Fremont. Cinco de Mayo Fest was going on, so we did that. It was fun, but I think overall, like my favorite spot is pretty much Fremont. I kind of enjoy going out over there. I don't know about Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, even just around our neighborhood, like we can walk to the ice cream shop with the kids. We can pretty much walk to the park, and then you get, a Las Vegas Strip view while you're playing on the playground. So even just walking and sightseeing, and whether it's like walking Red Rock Canyon or going to Mount Charleston, walking, like he said, Fremont or the Strip, like there's so many things to do out here, and if you're on a budget, that are cost effective and friendly. Like you don't have to go and spend $40 on a drink. You can bring your own, or you can bring your own food and wheel your own cooler around Fremont if you want. Or there's just more ways out here to have fun on a more friendly, you know, budget basis.
Yeah, Vegas is very lax on just walking around with alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different world out here for sure.
When you guys were like researching Vegas and thinking about moving here, now that you've taken the plunge and now that you've lived here a year, what advice would you give yourselves, knowing what you know now, to the person who was just watching the YouTube videos and didn't know as much?
Ooh. Well, I can't say don't move here if you haven't visited, because we did that and we're happy. But maybe, drive different neighborhoods, see where you want to live, because there's so many cool pockets, and every neighborhood has a different vibe or a different demographic. So really just take your time and figure out where you want to live. And sometimes you don't even know that until you live here, and that's okay. Like, don't think when you come here, like wherever you land, that's where you got to stay. It's okay to explore different parts of Nevada, because there's so many cool places to live. So you just have to take your time and figure out what works for you. So I would just say it's okay if wherever you land when you first get here, if you end up moving somewhere else, don't feel like you failed or you made a mistake. It's just part of the learning process, no matter where you would live, whether it's here or going to another state.
It's okay if you don't know where to live originally. Like, I think like we lived in like 2 or 3 different places before we really figured out which neighborhood we like. And that still changes. Like as our kids like get older, like that's always going to change, and it'll change for you too. So there's just different areas of Vegas that accommodate different things that you're into, different stages of life that you're in. While we're on the topic of our kids, by the way, everyone always asks about the schools. So what are your thoughts on schools so far for both of your kids? Like, that's always seems to be a concern and all that. And
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think here's both things. I think regardless of where you live, because of course, like, people say about the Vegas school systems, they have their opinions. But I think also regardless if your kid goes to the best school or the worst school, you know, whatever neighborhood you're in, I think as a parent, you just have to be involved in their schoolwork. You can't leave it all up to the teachers. You can't leave it all up to the schools. No matter what state you live in, what county you live in, what suburb you live in, there's always going to be your good schools, your better schools, your medium schools. But if you're not involved, your kid can go to the best school, the best charter school, the best private school. If you're not involved, are they really even going to do well? So I think it's really a lot of it is parent involvement, and you can't listen to what, oh, my kid went here and we hated it, because every kid's needs are different, right? And services are different. No, it's not a one size fits all thing. So you really just have to experience it for yourself. I say sit down with the admin, talk to them about why their schools are scoring certain things or certain ratings. There's so many things that to factor into it, so many politics behind the school system and how their ratings go. So don't always look at what you see online as Bible, is that's black and white. You really just have to do your research. And like I said, every kid needs different things. So it's not a one size fits all situation when it comes to sending your kids to school. And I think that goes not just for Vegas, but anywhere you live.
Joey, you used to DJ in Chicago, like the nightclubs in Chicago and things like that. What are your thoughts and perspective on the clubs here in Vegas, like breaking into that scene? What's all that like?
And it's been challenging out here. It's a different world for sure. Back home, it would be as simple as calling up a club owner and getting booked. Out here, apparently, you have to go through booking agencies, to get a booking, and it also comes with a lot of other things behind that. You really have to build a name for yourself to get into the club scene out here. Unfortunately, it's kind of been a challenge for me because back in Chicago, I was going under a different name, but then when I started producing music, I changed my name, so it's like I'm starting all over again. And to tap into this market, it is going to be a challenge for me because no one knows who I am.
And it's just more competitive because it's like a place people want to come and dabble in music and start their music career, because it is the next big place, Vegas. So wouldn't you agree it's kind of just competitive because there's so many people wanting to get into this music market?
I mean, the music industry in general would say it is a cutthroat industry. Like, you really got to know people to get into where you want to be. And that's the sad part, because there is a lot of like good talent in Vegas, and I've heard it, and they're not, where they need to be. And kind of sucks, I guess, in a way for them too. But that is really the challenge. It's just you have to really put your name out there and get people to hopefully recognize you and get where you want to be at the end of the day.
Was it ever a challenge coming here? Like, being in a city that you'd never been to before, and just kind of like a totally new environment. Like, were there any like hardships in the beginning, like getting used to living here in Vegas? Did you miss Chicago? Did you ever have thoughts of like, oh, maybe we made the wrong move, maybe we should go back? Like, were there any doubts? Like, how did you ever get through any periods of negativity when you move across the country like you did?
Everybody has doubts when they move. I mean, we've had our days where we like, do we make the right decision? But at the end of the day, we all love this place. It's West Coast is going to be different than the Midwest for sure. So you're going to see different things that you might not see in the Midwest. But at the end of the day, it's been great. Like, can't complain. I love it here. The weather's nice. The family's happy, and at the end of the day, that's what's most important.
Yeah, so like you do question yourself sometimes if you're just in a bad mood, and it's it could be anywhere you live that you move to that's new for you. You question yourself, especially when you have kids, because you want to make sure they're happy, and then you look at your kids and you see them outside all the time and playing and going to the skateboard parks, and you see how happy they are, and then when you ask them like, hey, do you love living here? Would you rather live anywhere else? And your kids answer you back with, oh no, I'm never moving out of Vegas. Like, I love it here. That like reconfirms like you're overthinking as a parent, because we tend to just overthink things. So when they give you confirmation that they like that your kids love it, you're like, oh, okay, I did make the right decision. Because kids are honest and they'll tell you. And there's like I said, there's a lot of pros. There's a lot of tax benefits, and when you think about the future of your family, and that really starts to cut back your overthinking.
Before we wrap this up, what do you miss about Chicago? Is it Portillo's? Is it deep dish? Is it Lou Malnati's? What do we miss?
Portillo's, Illuminati's.
Doesn't hurt to be food either.
Being able to see our family and friends all the time, that would be a big one. But we have made so many great friends out here. There's so many great people, so many nice people that we've been able to connect with. So yes, we miss things about it, and those are just more things you're used to and accustomed to, things you're familiar with. But as a whole, do I miss it? No, because when we do go back and visit, we can't wait to get back here.
I've been back one time. That was last year. I do got to make a trip again, but really dreading it.
Yeah,
the weather.
Basically,
yeah.
The weather.
Yeah, Chicago, we love you, but we're visiting you in the summer. That's it.
Yeah, we love you, Chicago, but now we're West Coasters, and we've gotten used to the way things are out here. You know, like I said, to each their own, and not everything's for everybody. But for us personally, it was the best decision we could have made for our family now and for the pros that Vegas has to offer for our future.
100%. Well said, you guys. Before we wrap up, things to plug both for Joey and for Michelle. Talk about your salon business. Joey, talk about your DJ stuff, whatever you want to plug. Go for it.
Well, I'm a hairstylist with over 10 years experience. I fly back to Chicago every 6 weeks to take my clients, my loyal, amazing, beautiful clients that I've built relationships with, and I get to see my awesome coworkers and family and friends. And then I get to come back here, and then I'm doing hair also out here. So if anyone needs a hairstylist, there is my Instagram on the screen. DM me, and I will respond right away. And I'd love to make each and one of you beautiful, even more beautiful than you are.
I'll plug my page. Obviously, August since find music on there. I am a turntablist. I've been a turntablist for over 2 decades now. Vibe 99.7. I'm still waiting for you to reach back out to me. So if you hear this, don't wait. But yeah, other than that, just follow me, and hopefully I'll see you soon in the club.
Guys, thanks for being here. You are now one of the Vegas Faces.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for subscribing to Vegas Faces on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok under the name Gavri Group. That's Gavri Group. Thanks, everybody. See you at the next episode.